Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Ohele Avatenu, Tents of Our Fathers. This week's Torah portion, we're in Miketz, and we are confronted with some very interesting things. Now, obviously, this is commentary, and any quoting that I do is paraphrase unless I'm reading directly. That being said, please be sure to read the portion for yourselves. Let his word speak for itself. This is my opinion. And as with all opinions, I could be wrong. However, what I see in this passage is a very fascinating counterexample to what is a common trope in many rags to riches stories. The refusal of Joseph to engage in the bitterness-fueled narcissistic revenge fantasy, where the protagonist comes into the wealth and power and prestige and glory that is his rightful due, and all of the villains of the story get their just comeuppance, and he's going to make sure they're humbled before him and see him for who he really is, and when his true self is revealed, and when they see who he truly is, then they're gonna know, how badly they messed up, and they're going to realize what wicked people they are. Well, they've already revealed themselves for who they are when they sold him off into slavery, right? So it's not exactly like that hasn't happened, and it's not exactly like they aren't bowing before him. He is the Lord of the land. Joseph does have the power to make them bow. What he doesn't have is the first prize, right? The first prize, which is restoration of relationship with his brothers. And he'll never have it so long as he allows that kind of a need to give them their just deserts, to govern his actions, and he will never have it if they only bow to him and show him respect because they have no other choice, right? So what does he do? Well, he devises an ingenious test, and for those who seek wisdom, for those who are trying to have a spirit of discernment, a spirit of understanding, studying Joseph and Shlomo, Solomon, are very, very marvelous examples. Because, well, let's go to Solomon for a moment. He gets confronted with these two women who are arguing over who is actually the mother of this child, right? If you're familiar with the story, you had these two women, and they have both given birth to children. One of them, the child had died in the night, and there was an argument as to whose child it was. So this case gets brought before Shlomo, Solomon, and he devises a test to find out who the mother is. Now, obviously, they didn't have genetics back then. They might have had, if you understand the details of the story, a little question about trying to get the father to own up to whose child it was. So identifying the dad might have been difficult. All of the above, right? Very, very interesting situation. But what Solomon does is he commands a sword to be brought, and they're going to divide this kid in two. So how does he figure out who the mother is? Well, he figures out who acts as a mother to this child. The one woman is, horrified by what the king has decreed, begs with the king, please no, just give the baby to her. Whatever you do, don't kill the child. And the other woman, she's like, whatever, if and let him not be mine nor yours. Go ahead and divide him up. So is it a sure thing that the woman who was pleading for the life of the child was its biological mother? Maybe not. But as opposed to a woman that's like, yeah, just kill the inconvenient little guy or whatever, just unalive him, right? I don't know if I'll get in trouble for saying what I just said on YouTube. We'll see. It's history, okay? It's a historical a narrative, right? Anyway, which would be a better mother for the child? The one that is looking out for the interests of the child, or the one that is just like, whatever, throw the thing away? So Solomon, in his wisdom, he looked for a mother by who she was. Joseph does the same thing here. He devises this test for his brothers. He's already seen them be willing to throw him under the bus, to sell him into slavery. We can have the debate about whether it's anachronistic or not, but in the culture of God's kingdom, kidnapping someone and selling them into slavery is a death penalty offense, right? You don't do that. It's not a light matter. So he knows who they are. He knows what they've done. He knows all of those things. And he gives them a golden opportunity to do the same thing to Benjamin, justified, right? This cup, I mean, do the crime, do the time. If they wanted to get rid of Benjamin, or they didn't care, they could have just been like, well, you did it. Sorry for you. But what happens is all the brothers, all of them, risk the wrath of this Lord of Egypt to go back. And Yehuda himself, as we'll see in the next Torah portion, is going to offer himself in his brother's stead. And for the people that come down to the question of letter of the law versus the spirit of the law, letter of the law, let Benjamin suffer for his crime, right? Let him pay for his deeds. There's no need to do anything. But yet Judah, he offers himself like a kinsman redeemer. So Yosef is seeing, if they're going to just ditch Benjamin, right, his little brother, then, well, Benjamin's going to be safe because he's going to be with him, right? So on the one hand, if his brothers won't act as brothers, then at least he's got his brother safe away from these people. But if they've changed, and if they show themselves to have changed, then his brothers can be restored to him because they're acting as brothers, right? They're not bowing because they need to. They're not sitting there realizing, oh my God, we screwed up, and now that Joseph has all this power and authority over us, we just have to act nice. We just have to play nice. He would never have known why they were repentant if it was not revealed, right? Not revealed through their actions as brothers. So when when they're saying, surely we're guilty for what we did to Joseph, and that's why all this is happening upon us, even then he's seeing, okay, this is something in their hearts, this is something in their minds, this is something that has been at work in them. So he creates this test to allow them to reveal who they are. If you want to be understanding and you want to have discernment, not just in how you interact with others, but also the tests that you go through, it is the testing which proves our mettle. And the test, obviously, not everything appeared, or was as it appeared. Not everything was as it seemed. But the test was all important to reveal the hearts of men. When we go through testing, it reveals who we are. Yes, we could justify leaving Benjamin in Egypt because he stole the cup. Yes, we could do those things. And are we the people that so easily let a brother go? Or the kind of people that would even kidnap and sell him off into slavery? Or are we the kind of people who, like the Yehuda in this story, like Yeshua, like so many others, will offer ourselves, will act as a brother, not because the laws that stand justify us throwing somebody under the bus, but because in our hearts, in our spirits, in our souls, that's who we are, right? That's my brother, and I will stand for him. Yeah, he might have done wrong, but he's my brother, and I will stand for him. Yeshua would have been justified. The Almighty would have been justified. There's so many reasons to say, well, so-and-so brought it on himself. Okay. But who are you, right? Are you the kind of person that is just going to let that stand? Or are you the kind of person that is going to stand for your brother? And it's the testing which reveals who the mother is of the child. It's the testing who reveals who is a brother and who is not a brother, right? We know who we are in what the testing reveals in us. When you're going through things, how we respond. What's inside of us is what we do. And if what the testing in you reveals is different than the ways which you would imagine the Messiah would act, or ways that you would imagine Yosef would act, or Moshe, or Yehuda in this particular instance, then perhaps what you need to do is reevaluate whether or not you are the kind of person who loves as a brother loves as a mother loves, that will act as a kinsman redeemer, not because you have to, but because you can, right? There's a difference between legal obligation and that spirit in you which compels you to act for the sake of your brother, for the sake of the fact that it will hurt your father's heart if your brother is not restored to him. Yeah, maybe your brother didn't do the right thing. Who has always done the right thing? I haven't always done the right thing. Are you kidding? But Yosef could have settled for, they're bowing to me, the prophecies have all been fulfilled, yay, now it comes full circle and they're going to feel my justice. He didn't do that. So often, I think people are content for the second prize. Yes, the prophecy came true. Yes, they were bowing. Yes, they would bow again. And he could have made them bow. He could have revealed himself and said, I am Joseph, scraping the dust before my feet. But he didn't do that. He had restoration with his brothers because he devised a means to draw out what was in their heart, to see that they were, in fact, now changed and acting like brothers. Shabbat Shalom.